As usual, we'll start with US 500 as mentioned, the XY USDT dominance, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then we'll go over the remaining ones. Feel free to request any altcoin, and I would be happy to do it. Of course, next we'll cover MWC. But first, let's check the overall market. US 500 is the most or the biggest 500 stocks, or also known as S&P 500. We can see that we have been bullish lately inside this correction movement. As mentioned previously, if you remember, we had this high, which we can see from H4, broken upward, a classic retest, traded higher. We had this major high also now broken. Now price is approaching a resistance, and you can clearly see these are our support and resistance zones. Of course, we also got one up there, but I didn't draw it. But now if you break it upward, we will also place a resistance right here, okay? And yeah, that's basically these are our levels from daily time frame, and we know that we are still overall bearish from a long-term perspective, trading inside this big falling brown channel, and we are currently in a correction phase. This movement reminds me pretty much of this movement. Okay, so let's see if we'll get an overextended movement, and also this one broken upward, traded higher, the impulse movement started, broken upward, traded higher, impulse movement started. So now we are breaking above this. If we break above this resistance, which is also a supply zone, as you see, an aggressive movement there from here, also a support, resistance, and support, right? If it's broken upward, expect further bullish movement till our next resistance zone around like 4.1K, 4.2K. Okay, so that's it from daily time frame. From H4, as mentioned, we broke above this high. We had a classic retest, traded higher, and we are currently approaching a very strong resistance zone. This resistance in blue price can still dive inside it before trading lower, or we might have a correction movement from here. We've got this trend line that we got multiple rejections from, impulse and then impulse again. We might have another impulse movement down from here, but for now, as long as we are trading inside this channel, we are bullish, and every bearish movement would simply be a correction before the bulls take over and push the price again. So I've got two possible scenarios here. The first one is, of course, if we trade a little bit higher, we might even still drop lower. The first one is if you trade higher and then fail to break above the zone, instead make a new low and then break it downward. In this case, a bearish move would be expected. The second possible scenario would be if we trade higher or like from here. Anyway, we start the correction, and then the next one would break above the resistance zone. In this case, we'll be expecting one more bullish impulse, just like this. So in brief, we've got this area, which is a very strong area to look out for. Like for those who already know me, I always like I like to post this kind of analysis. Let me show you. Here we go. Right, so you can see like this zone right here. For example, if you click on play anyway, you can see that price reacted around this area. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, like it's still new, but like I always like to find the intersection between two support and resistance, and on horizontal and so on. For example, on DXY, also we had the reaction from this area. So I always look for an intersection of multiple support and resistance. Anyway, like this is monthly time frame, so don't expect to see much now. But I guess, yeah, like we had this one, but price like didn't go this far. I guess it went up. I'm not really sure. Let me check. Okay, so like the play button is taking too long. I'm sorry. Yeah, it didn't retest up there, but you've got the idea, right? So this one is, yeah, also monthly, but we had a nice reaction from here as well. Okay, but like we can't really now see it. Okay, so this is basically it. I would draw a zone just like here, right? Because it is the intersection of the upper trend line and this resistance zone. Unless, of course, again and again, it's broken upward, in this case, further bullish movement. This is the first scenario. The second possible scenario, broken upward, this movement, or this correction, and then break below the low, below the channel. In this case, a bearish movement would be expected. Anyway, enough for US 500. Let me check the chat before I move forward to the next ones. Joseph, hope you're doing good. Let's move to new house. I haven't had internet connection. It's great to be able to join again. Happy to see you here. Like, we will go over Galatasaray, hope very soon. Uh, okay, and we also got like the tipster guy. Hope you're doing fine. I guess I said everyone. Yeah. Okay. We've got Joseph and we've also got ID Joseph. I don't know if you guys are the same one, but like joining from different platforms, or you are two different people. Okay. Okay, Joseph. Of course, we'll go over Galatasaray. Fantastic. So let's do it. That's it for US 500. On DXY, on the other hand, we had a nice movement downward. As I mentioned multiple times previously, if you remember, that we might have a rejection from here as long as we don't have a big bullish candle closing above the 113, right? If you remember from the previous session, that we are still expecting this movement, it would be a nice lower high, right? Signaling an early alert that a potential reversal might happen, which would be confirmed by breaking below this 110 zone, which is lining up with multiple previous lows and highs, and so on. But as long as we are here, we might still be able to push higher. Again, just like US 500, we might push lower, trade higher, and then break it downward, or we might push higher, break the 113, and keep on trading higher. Very interesting times so far, but finally we can see some movements after a couple of weeks stock inside the range on almost like the entire market, right? So we had this movement approaching a support zone now. Unless we break it down entirely, then we'll be expecting this movement, which we can see even better from weekly time frame. That's our last major low from a long-term perspective, and where we also have this trend line here, right, which we saw from daily time frame. So here might be a good, nice rejection zone, just like previously correction, traded higher, correction, traded higher. We are currently in this correction before we trade higher again. So we want a break below this to finally say that, yeah, now we are bearish. Now we are expecting a long-term bullish movement in the stock market, in the crypto market, and so on. But for now, this might be just an overextended correction. And by overextended, I mean because previously we had small movements like one swing only, right? Before the next bullish movement starts. However, if you compare this correction now, you can see that it's formed with multiple swings, right? Not only one swing, but multiple swings, which might be an early alert that, yeah, the bears are not as weak as before. They are now kicking in, and like already the XY is like too overextended, and it's time for a little break, right? And you can see it even better from H4 time frame now. If we were to draw a channel like this, right, because we had a lower high and now a lower low, that's it. So inside this channel, and yes, just like US 500, we have a golden zone right here. We have this purple area that I like to usually draw. So this entire zone is a strong support area, intersection of this 110 zone, lower trend line in orange, lower trend line in red, and so on. So yeah, we might trade a little bit lower, but then we'll be expecting this bullish movement unless we break it entirely downward. In this case, this whole scenario would be broken, like would be invalidated, and the bears would say, yeah, okay, bulls, it's time for a little bit of a downward movement, okay? For now, this is just a small bearish movement. This reminds me of this bearish movement, and then look what happened, traded higher again. Okay, so we might still have this movement and then a break below it, okay, inside this channel, or which I personally don't prefer, this to be very similar to this, right? But of course, this is bigger and so on. Like this is a one swing on daily, this is a multiple swings on daily, but the same logic, it might be a very similar one as a continuation like this, and then a break above the 113 finally from a daily time frame. In this case, expect the unexpected, expect the XY to trade even higher from here till around the intersection again and again. That's it. Okay, between 120 and the upper trend line in orange. Anyway, let's take it step by step. But like I always like to show you what to expect from a long term, like from a long term perspective, like in case in case like something happens to me. But like of course, like I'll be updating it like next week. But for now, we know what to look for around the support zone. Now the bears are clearly in control, trading lower. So let's see how it goes. This one is already annoying for now. And from a shorter term perspective, from H1, sorry, we are bearish impulse correction. We had our impulse, a very small correction, which means that the bears are very strong, still very strong, impulse correction and so on. So basically, this is our last major high for now. Of course, like from H1, of course. And for now, as long as we don't really break below above the high, we can still trade lower and lower. But if we see this, it might be a signal that we might have a short-term bullish movement, would be rejecting the zone. Of course, meanwhile, we can set trade lower, make a new high, and then break it upward. In this case, it would be even better. It would be diving inside this purple circle I drew, which would be a massive zone for the bulls to kick in. That's it. Let me check the chat. Okay. Let's move forward and get into crypto. Finally, right? So USDT dominance. That's it. Finally, we rejected this resistance. We have been trading around it for a long period of time. For if you want, let's go to weekly and see it better. Let's zoom in a little bit and count the weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, right? So 5 weeks consolidation. Finally, some movements, a break, and of course, let's see how this week will close, because we still have a couple of days for it to close, but things are looking good so far. If we close below these wicks, okay, let me show you. If we close below these wicks, right, it would be fantastic. Okay, if you close below it, would be engulfing one candle, engulfing the previous 5 candles, right? So it would be a very good, strong signal that yeah, the bears are stronger than ever. They won the battle here of this resistance zone and will be expecting a bearish movement till the next support zone. For now, it's very too early to judge because the weekly candle hasn't closed yet, especially that from daily time frame, we are currently around the support zone, which we already marked last week or like in a couple past weeks. We've got this support and resistance, support here, resistance here, resistance here and support now. Now we are diving inside it. But the good thing, as mentioned from weekly, we broke below this range, okay? Because we had a range previously, we didn't break it. Instead, we kept moving higher, form some wicks and form a new range, breaking it downwards now. But we are still bullish, okay? As long as we don't break below the support, we would be still bullish. And this movement, this one, reminds me of this one, okay? So this is a very similar one, especially that you can draw a trend line right here like this, and a channel from the other, from the upper side, okay? So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a consolidation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We might have a consolidation here, and boom, we might even trade higher. Okay, but of course, let's wait for the market to make the first move and then react accordingly. We have a support zone here. Let's wait for what will happen. If we have a consolidation here, it might be a continuation if you break it downward and break the zone downward, or it might be a reversal if you break it upward and break above the zone again, because we need a break above these lows right now for the bulls to reclaim the support and say that, yeah, now this is a support, it's still a support, and we are taking over again. Okay. Okay, that's basically it. Can't really say much from lower time frames. This channel is already broken, but we know that we are still bullish as we are still above this support zone. Let's see if it will get broken downward. For now, I can't really add much. Maybe after a consolidation here, we'll be able to draw a pattern, and if it's broken upward, the bulls would take over. For now, as I mentioned earlier, that the bulls need to break back above the zone for them to take over. For now, this is the last minor high that the bulls need to break above to take over, and next we've got this high right here. That's why I would prefer to see some kind of consolidation, and yes, we might still trade inside the zone for a while before we trade higher. And if we break it out downward, then yes, further continuation movement would be expected, and so on. Let's go to Bitcoin. Yes, finally. Okay. Let me zoom in, and you can clearly see that we had these zones like for a while now. And like for those who watched the previous episodes, like I started like for 2 weeks, I started the same videos in the same manner. We are inside a range around the lower band. The bulls can still kick in from here and blah blah blah, right? So you can watch it here. Day like today I posted day 91, yesterday day 90, 80, 89, and so on. Okay, so you can watch it. And I've been saying the same intro for a while now, around the lower band, looking for basket ups. For the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above this. We had the break, and then we traded higher. And now we need to see a break above this for the bulls to take over from a medium-term perspective. And now we had the break. Okay, so we had the break now. The bulls are now over from a medium-term perspective. Short-term done, rejected the lower band, broke above this and above this. Let's update it. For the bears to take over from a long-term perspective, we are still on the same analysis, on the same like if you want, like yeah, this is, anyway, I don't know how to say in English, but for the bears to take over, we have the same view, if you want, that if we see this break below this zone, below the 18K, the bears will take over. Okay, for now the bulls are clearly kicking in, rejecting the 18K, and by big break I mean just like this candle, like this. Here we go. Okay, so that's what we're waiting for. For now, this is our upper bound of this whole range, lower bound of the range as well, and this is the midway support. Resistance, support here, support here, and resistance again and again. So this area is a resistance, especially, which I keep on highlighting. We have a supply zone right here. Okay, this entire zone starting from 22K to 22.67K. Okay, this entire zone is a supply zone that price might fill and then trade lower from here, which would be also, as I mentioned, a resistance zone. So for now, the bulls took over, taking over now. We will trade higher, and here would be a very interesting zone to look out for, because we might have a rejection from here. It might be a deeper rejection to retest this previous high again before being able to trade higher or even trade lower, break below 18K and so on. But for now, let's take it step by step. Okay, we broke above these highs, which you saw right here. What is it? Okay, which we saw right here in orange. I guess this is from H4. So let me show. Yeah, that's it. Okay, we broke above it. We had a classic retest to it, and we traded higher. For now, we are waiting. Like these are the drawings from last week. Okay, so anyway, I'll keep them as is. So the bulls took over here, and we might have a retest just like we saw here. If you see it, that's it, a deep one. So like don't panic. Okay, we might have some retest here before we trade higher, and then like this is what I said when we were here when I made this video, which is today. That's because like we were still in the first H4 candle. Like, don't panic if you see price going back like till here, because price usually tends to retest the support or like the resistance after being broken. So now resistance broken, it's now acting as a support zone. Okay, so as long as we are above this area, above 22.5K, we are bullish. We are expecting further bullish movement. Yes, we might have a correction, and the correction can last or can dive till around the 20K before we trade higher. Okay, so don't panic if you see Bitcoin going down. For now, we don't have anything that might hold it back. Okay, we might have these highs here, right here, but like they already like they're very old, and in this area here. Okay, So it might reject the price downward, it might reject it for a short period of time, and then the bulls will take over. So if price retests this zone, we'll be looking for buy setups. And of course, if it's broken downward like this, then it will be breaking back below the zone, and then we'll be expecting price to be back inside it. This would be a fake out before we trade lower. But the good thing is that, of course, like it depends on today. For this daily, if this daily candle closes above the zone, okay, it would confirm the break. So this is the entire zone now being broken. Of course, unless like something crazy happens now, because like the candle would close in like around 7 hours. So unless in these 7 hours something crazy happens and drives back the price, forms a big wick here and a small body, then of course expect bearish movement from here. But as long as we are bullish and like this wick is small compared to this body, we are fine. Okay, if we see a bigger wick, for example till here, and like the wick would be the same size of the candle, it wouldn't be considered a clean breakout. Okay, as long as it is clean, like for example, like just like this, it would be great. Even if we retest a little bit, we might still trade higher, because of course like nothing trades in the same direction forever. We might have an impulse correction and then an impulse second one pushing price to the upper band. In this case, we'll have this impulse maybe and trade lower, or breaking the upward and trade higher. Anyway, let's take it step by step. So that's basically it for Bitcoin. That's our last major low for now, and of course this one minor here, but that's our last major low, which happens to be also around the 20K. How low can we trade again? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, like Bukhari, I just saw your question. Like of course, like it depends, because like I guess like when I went over my analysis, like I guess you got your answer right. We can still retest the zone before trading lower, but as long as we don't break below this support resistance, a minor 120K, which is also a very strong round number. If you don't break it downward, if you break it downward, we'll be trading lower. But for now, this is acting as a support zone. On Ethereum, a very similar movement. Let's wait for my drawings. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so here we go. We are bearish, of course, from a long-term perspective. The last major high is right here, around 2K. So for Ethereum to become bullish, so now we are bearish, right? To have a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish, we need to see a break above the 2K. Okay, this is of course from a long-term perspective. For now, we had what? We had a low and now forming a higher low, which is an early alert that a potential reversal might happen. Okay, and like, which is, as you can obviously see, the exact opposite of what? Of the XY. We had a high and now we have a lower high. Okay, but of course we still need a break below the major low for the bears to take over. In this case, we still need to see a break above the 2K for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, which is also sorry, a support and resistance zone, and a massive round number 2K. Okay, so as you see, price is respecting the 1K right here, the 2K right here, the 2.5K, okay, the 3K of course multiple times, the 3.5K, and so on. Okay, anyway, you've got the idea. If you go to daily time frame, we knew that we have this midway support, resistance, and support. And if you remember that I told you that for the bears, for the bulls to take over, we need to see not only a break above this high, but also a break above the 1.5K, which as you can see happened. And you can see my alerts right here, because on the retest, I'll be planning to add more longs. Okay, so that's basically it. That's my first alert, retesting this sorry, demand zone and also the 1.5K zone, and that's my second alert, retesting this zone right here. Okay, it depends on how deep we might dive. We had our impulse. We can't move in the same direction forever. Okay, so we can't like move like this for forever. Even though we are bullish, we might make an impulse correction, and so on. Okay, we might see a correction before we trade higher, but yeah, the bulls took over. We broke above this zone. Okay, Let's fix this one. That's it. Okay, and let's go to H4. Can't really say much. Okay, can't really say much. We broke above this resistance, this zone in blue, the trend line, and the 1.5K resistance. Okay, now let's go for, sorry, now let's go for NWC. DJ. Okay, wishing you a lovely night. I'll see you hopefully soon. Okay, so Sustain Empire, I'm glad to see you here. I didn't say hi previously, so hope you're doing good. And Mark, hope you're doing good. So now we've done with the first part, feed the overall market. Let's now check NWC. And that's it. From a long-term perspective, we are still waiting for this channel to be broken upward, right? Long-term, we need to see a break above the 0.2, and then we'll be expecting NWC to trade higher and higher. But for now, we are trying to catch the next impulse movement because previously we had this nice impulse movement, and we are currently in a correction movement. We are around the demand zone. We are trying to catch this next impulse movement upward, and hopefully we'll have this impulse correction and then another impulse making a higher high. It will be responsible of the break of the resistance, and then we'll be expecting this next bullish movement. But anyway, as usual, let's take it step by step. This is from a long-term perspective. From H4 time frame, we know that we had this trend line previously. We broke above this support. Now it's acting as a resistance. So from a medium-term perspective, I would like to see a break above the 1.115 or 0.115, okay, which is around this area. This is from a medium-term perspective. From a short-term perspective, I'm waiting for this, and that's why you see an alert here, and one here in case we dive inside the demand zone again. And the demand zone is, sorry, is holding up nicely. And yeah, that's basically it. From H1, yeah, that's it. From H1, we had this channel previously, and I was waiting for something like this to happen. It didn't happen exactly like this. It happened like in a different way. This channel formed, that's it, right? And then formed a new high right here, and then broke it up. But anyway, I didn't like the wicks here and like how NWC is doing on lower time frames. But anyway, like now we're still at around entry. Of course, like for those who bought here, we're still around entry. But for extra confirmation to me, I'll be sticking to the H4 this range here. I'll be waiting for an H4 candle close above this zone for the buyers to take over. Check my alerts. Okay, rose. Okay. Waiting for this break for the bulls to take over, and then we'll be expecting this movement upwards. Meanwhile, we can still test the demand zone before we trade higher. Okay, that's it for NWC. For Joseph Galatasaray, I don't like this token, Joseph. Multiple wicks all over the place, right? And especially now lately, like multiple wicks, right? Anyway, we're still here struggling around the support for the bulls to take over. From a long-term perspective, I'm still waiting for this last major high. For now, if you want, we can update it to become this one, okay? And that's it. Okay, waiting for this break above the zone for the bulls to take over. Meanwhile, we can still trade higher, rejected, trade lower before breaking it upward. So I want a break above the entire orange zone. From a shorter term perspective, from H1, I was waiting for a break like this is from last week, a break like this above this high for the bulls to take over. Obviously didn't happen and kept forming wicks. Okay, so no entry yet. Okay, and yeah, I don't like these wicks, so I'll delete this one. I'm no longer interested in buying Galatasaray here because we've got wicks and because we made our zone lower anyway. We made it lower from daily, so let's stick to the zone to like to buy. Want a daily candle close above this one for the bulls to take over and expect a long-term bullish movement till around the next resistance. Meanwhile, yes, unfortunately, we are stuck here. We can even dive lower. That's the power of waiting for extra confirmation before you jump in. Seed for Mac, dear boss. Of course, like this is a stock, but we added it and kept it there. Okay. So we are bullish trading inside this channel for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective. I still want to see a break above this 14 around 14.21. If you see this break, expect a longer-term bullish movement. For now, we are bullish inside this channel, and we had the break upwards. We are currently, here we go. We are currently retesting the zone. So here we'll be looking for a trend following bar setup. And by looking, I mean we zoom into lower time frames. Oh, oops, sorry, we can't really see much. Okay, anyway, let's stick to daily time frame. Okay, so for example, you draw a channel like this, because like we can't really see it on lower time frames. And then if you see, for example, a kind of break above it, then we'll be expecting the bulls to take over, just like this consolidation, for example, and so on. Okay, that's what we're waiting for on seed, and the bulls would be in control as long as we don't have a break below this low. If we see this break below this low, expect a bearish movement. So let's move forward with our analysis. And as you already know, our second part for today, as the educational one, is how to spot supply and demand zones. And for those who remember, previously, like at the start of like my appearance here, I made a dedication session about supply and demand zones. What is a supply and a demand? How to draw it? How to spot it? How to trade it? And so on. But for today, like we'll go over practical examples of supply and demand. And anyway, the price is usually now around the demand zone, right? So many altcoins, like for example AVAX, like SAND, and so on, are around the demand zone from weekly time frame. Okay, so if you check weekly, you can see a very similar scenario. For example, here on BNB, you can see that we've got a demand zone right here, an impulse consolidation, then impulse movement again. That's definitely a demand, but already it got filled, right? So previously, when we had here we go. Okay, so when we had this movement, impulse, correction, impulse, we had what? A demand zone right here. It is the last bearish candle or the consolidation before the next bullish movement start. This is where we'll be looking for bust up. So I usually would do like this, and I put my alert just right here, okay? And then when the price approaches this zone, if it approaches this zone, I'll be looking for bar setups. Let me make it a little bit faster. So let's go for 3. Okay, so as we approach, here we go, right? So of course, like I zoom into lower time frames. For example, on daily, you can see like multiple candles. On H4, you can see like highs and lows, right? So now we are bearish starting from here. The bears took over. Impulse correction trading lower. Now the last high is here. Let's move forward, and okay, that's it. Fantastic. We've got a minor high broken upward now. That's still the last major high. And here we go. Now we're forming an inverse head and shoulders. Left head, the right is forming. Okay, so like that, this is no longer valid because like it took so much time here. Here we go. Okay, so that's basically it. You've got the idea. And for a supply and demand zone, let's go back to our example. Click on X, this one, that's it. Okay, we traded higher. Now we are around this area. Anyway, we'll check, of course, more supply and demand zones examples as we go through the next ones. If you go to BNB, as I mentioned, if you remember, just like Ethereum, we have a midway, upper bound, lower bound. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see a break above this high right here, okay? From a medium-term perspective, above this high. From a short-term perspective, above this high, which is from H4 time frame. So now clearly the bulls took over, and if you zoom out, we are currently trading inside this falling channel, up, down, up, down. We are currently here. So yeah, we might reject this area and trade lower before again trading higher, just like previously, multiple times, unless now we break it upward in this case and move into the upper band would be expected this zone. Maybe later on, just like here, for example, we get a consolidation like a channel, that's it. Okay, or also an inverse head and shoulders, broke the neckline downward, and that's it. Okay, so that's it for BNB. I can't really say much. The bull took over, approaching a resistance now. For XRP, we previously know that we are bearish. We rejected this zone and we are trading lower. Now we can update our zone to become this one. Okay, that's why you see my alert here. It was up there. If we break above the 0.5 again, it didn't happen, kept moving lower. Now I have my zone here. If we trade lower from here, I have my alert right here around this demand zone. Why it's a demand? If you zoom out, we can see that we had an explosive movement upward from here. Okay, that's definitely a demand zone. And as you can see, my alert is on the top of the demand zone. Okay, of course, price can still dive inside it, but I want to know that the price is already around this demand zone. Okay, so I want to know here, and then no matter how much we dive, or even if we make it downward, because I will not buy blindly, I will be looking for buy setups around this demand zone. Okay, so that's it. For now, can't really add much. For the bulls to reclaim control again, we had the break above this falling wedge, but we didn't really have a break above the last major high, which would be this area. On Raven coin, a perfect example of a demand zone, right? You can clearly see it, an aggressive movement upwards from here, right? A movement upward, and we are currently retesting the demand. So I had my alert here and it went off. Now I've added two alerts, one down there in case we dive even lower, and one up here for the bulls to take over. That's it. Okay. Of course, now we can dive lower and lower. In this case, I'll be updating my zone, okay, to be able to catch a better entry. But for now, this is the last major high that for the bulls to take over, they need to prove control, prove that they are strong enough to break above this area. Meanwhile, we are here, the price is getting boring, but we just wait, okay? 90% of our time is waiting and waiting. So price moves like this 10% of the time only. Okay, you can clearly see it. Big movement, and look at this, right? Consolidation, and then look at this. Big movement and then consolidation. Big movement, consolidation. Okay, so like if you want like this period, okay, is like 1 to 3 can if you want like this period, that's because we have consolidation here. That's why like it takes longer, but we are still in the same area. This is for Raven coin around the demand, looking for buy setups for the bulls to take over. On AVAX, we also have a very similar scenario. Zoom out to weekly. That's a massive demand zone right here. Okay. Previously, let's see it. That's it. Previously, what we had here, a demand zone. Yeah, that's it. Look at this. Okay, we had what? Movement upward, consolidation, aggressive movement upward. That's what? A demand zone. Okay, to cover the entire consolidation and then click on play. You can see that price usually tends to retest this demand zone before we trade higher again. That's it. Okay, anyway, here we go. Okay, so we reject, and of course, we don't buy blindly. We zoom into our time frames, wait for those to take over, and then jump in. The exact same thing is happening because now we have a demand here, and price is where? Around the demand. That's it. That's why we're looking for buy setups. We can see that from daily time frame. That's our last major high, lining up with these lows. From H4 time frame, that's our last high, which is already broken, right? So we can also draw a trend line here, make an offset for it. We have a channel. This high is broken. So the bulls definitely took over from a short-term perspective. That's it. Here we go. Okay, let's go for blue here. Fantastic, right? And now I'm waiting for the same logic. This zone is very similar to this zone, right? Lows and highs, but these ones are bigger because they are from daily, but this one are smaller because they are from H4. So boost took over, short term tick, waiting for the boost to take over from a medium term tick, and then of course from a long-term perspective, this is our last previous high from where? From weekly time frame. Yeah, you go to weekly, zoom a little bit in, that's it. That's our last major high. And look, usually how clean the weekly time frame is. Okay, a low here, a high here, price failed to make a higher high, instead made a lower high. Okay, so previously higher high, higher high, higher high, then failed to make a higher high, made a lower high. Then this one, this low was broken. A break, a classic retest to it, and then boom, bearish. Okay, and now following the same logic here, but here price failed to make a lower low, instead making an equal low or even a higher low, right? So this one is now this one is higher than this one. Anyway, okay, and now this is the last major high. The exact same logic we applied here. Low broken, retest, rated lower. So we might have a break, a retest, and then here we go. Okay, this is of course from a long-term perspective. For now, let's take it step by step, short-term, medium-term, and then we'll long-term, which we saw from weekly now. Okay, Lena pumped this week. Okay, we'll check Lena. Okay, Sustain Empire. Okay, crypto tokens are pumping now, but NWC is dipping. Please, can you explain? Sure, sure. Okay, I'll give you an example of Sustain Empire. Let me. Okay, of course, like NWC is not dipping; it's stuck inside the range. Okay, and usually you will find multiple coins that are not usually following the overall market. I'll give you an example. For example, QNT. Okay, on QNT you can clearly see while it was going up, like Bitcoin was going down, right? And now it's stuck inside a consolidation while Bitcoin is going up in a very strong manner. Okay, this is one example. I'll show you one more. Like I'll show you one more example. I will go for CHZ. Yes, yes, yes. On CHZ, here we go. Right. So let me give you an example about supply and demand as well. Yeah. Okay. First of all, we got a demand zone here. Price retested it, as you can see here, traded higher. Now we are forming an inverse head and shoulders pattern, a big one. So left, head, and the right is forming now. For the boost to take over from a long-term perspective, you can see my alert right here, 0.3. We need to see a break above this entire zone. For now, we're expecting a bullish movement from here. Of course, we might still trade a little bit lower. I have my alert down there in case we trade it lower. But anyway, I want to answer your question about like this movement. For example, on XMR, for example, okay? No matter if the market is going down, what is it? I guess I have one. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so no matter if market is going up and down, you can see XMR stuck inside a big range. That's one example on KDA. Okay, that's it. You can see that we are trading lower or inside the range, while of course like Bitcoin and so on is pumping. Okay, so like some coins, they don't actually move exactly like about Bitcoin analysis, and which is of course like something good, because like we don't really want 20,000 coins to move in the same direction, right? So we we don't really need that. Okay, so like we need coins to move at different times, at different periods, and so on. So and like yeah, and like on NWC when we had this aggressive movement upward previously, which was here, Bitcoin was actually going down, right? So that's basically it. Okay, okay. Mark requested Aptos and Sol, Lena for Bukharic. I guess Lena is Where is Lena? Okay, let me check. Yeah, that's it. Let's go for Lena. Let's go for Sol. And what requested more? Aptos. Yeah, I don't really like like the hype of Aptos, but let's do it. Okay, where we are? How many coins do we have on the list? Okay, that's it. So let's go for these ones: Matic, Lena, Sol, and Aptos APT, and then like we will see if we will have some time, and then if I still have some energy, of course, like we have time, but like it actually depends on on my voice, because like I will be talking for 1 hour straight if I will be able to continue or not. But like I'll try my best to keep going as much as possible. But cheers. So on Matic, we know that from daily time frame. Oops, we have so much drawings here. Let's remove this one. These are the drawings from last week. So we had this channel that we wanted the boost to break above this high for them to take over. We had our impulse correction, and now we are in this next impulse movement upwards. If you zoom into H1 time frame, okay, so like as you see, like a price followed our analysis. Like it happens that this specific one price followed this zone here. So waiting for the buyers to break above this to be able to trade higher. Meanwhile, for the price to take over, you need to see a break below this zone. So like this is why you see the drawings here. If we break it down, we will be expecting a bearish movement till this like box that you see here, and then we'll be expecting the buyers to take over again. We trade it higher. So now this like one is broken already. Let's update it, and let's update it from where? From H4 time frame. Fantastic. Let's go to H4, and that's it. Okay, an offset for it. That's it. We are currently around the upper bound. If we trade lower again, we'll be looking for a trend following by setup, right? And next, our next resistance would be around the 1 round number, which you can clearly see right here. So for the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see this break like this. Okay. That's basically it. And meanwhile, we are around the upper bound, just like US 500 and so on. But of course, we can still trade higher from here. This is just might be a correction, just like here, consolidation, correction. We might trade like this, trade higher again. So for the best to take over, you need to zoom into lower time frames. That's our last minor low for now. If broken, downward, the bears will take over for a correction movement, just like what happened here. Correction started, impulse started, correction might start, impulse will start. Okay. Okay, on Lena. I can't really say much for this one because like I don't like this range, but like yeah, as per our drawings, this is the last like one the all-time low, and I'm not really sure about this one. I'm not really sure why we drew it. Okay, maybe it should be here. I guess it should be here. Okay, fine. Anyway, price rejected this area, and we had a break above this high right here. So yeah, the boost took over here, and we'll be expecting a bullish movement, just like this one here. Okay, that's it for Lena. For Solana. Okay, why we don't have drawings here? Okay, let me wait. Maybe drawings will appear. Let me see for APT. Oh no, for link. Oh, okay, we don't have drawings. Yeah, fantastic. Let's go for Solana. Okay, great. Drawings are here. Weekly time frame, also what? A massive demand zone, right? An aggressive movement upwards. Solana went straight from 30 to 200, right? So this was a massive, massive movement from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks only, right? So it went like 10x in 7 weeks. Anyway, this is a massive movement. That's why it's a strong demand zone. Retesting the previous low here, price failing to make a low, and at least for now, right? We might trade lower from here. For the bulls to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see a break above the last major high, which would be around the 50. If we see this break, we'll be expecting further bullish movement. For now, sorry. For now, we are stuck right here. If you zoom into H4 time frame, we had this channel from last week. I think I can't really say much about it. As you can see from my alerts, I got two alerts. The first one is this one. Okay, let me check. Okay, so the first one is this minor one, and then the second one is, as you can see from this alert, is these highs right here. Okay, oh, Danny, we've got Danny joined. Hello, Danny. So these are what I'm waiting for. This one for the bullish takeover short term, and then medium term, and then finally long term. Okay, on APT, I can't really say much about this one, but I already have my alerts, as you see. Okay, we don't have enough data, but we know that we have an impulse. We are currently in a correction, right? If you zoom into H1, we can see, okay, look, you know what? Let me go for this one. Okay, that's it. Okay, that's a demand zone. That's a demand zone, right? So aggressive movement, upward, consolidation, movement upward, okay? That's a demand. That's why you see my alert here. If we dive lower, we'll be looking for buy stops here from a short-term perspective. If you dive even lower, we'll be looking for buy stops here. We had our impulse, and we are currently in a correction. The correction started when we had a break below this low. Okay, the correction started, and yes, we might even trade lower and lower. Okay, now for the bulls to take over, we have this high, the last major high from this channel, which is also lining up with these lows. Okay. So for the bullish takeover, you need to see a break above this. That's why you see my alert here, and my alert also here if we drop lower. Okay. Hello, Danny. Yes. Here we go. I just went over APT right here. Okay. That's basically it. Let's get back to our Newscrypto layout because we don't have any drawings. Okay. You know what I'll do? I will go back to Coupon Live, like for this layout. Copy everything, copy, and then let me see if like this would work. Let's go back to this one and paste. Voila. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. I will pick like one more of these ones to do. And yeah, let's go to our live, which is like for this session. I will pick, yeah, you know what? I will pick like link XLM and algo. Like I'm keeping an eye very much on these three right now as well. Okay, I'm not really sure like which one to go for. If you want to go over a specific one, please let me know because we've got so many options. So like just like if you want, I will let you pick the ones that I will do. Like if you want like pick one or two, okay, this is the most that I can do after 1 hour talking straight. Okay. Yeah, Bukarik asked, is the bullish movement on Lena short term? Yes, of course, Bukarik. Now short term until the next resistance or the major high would be broken upward. Okay, because like this is only a break of a small high from a short term perspective. Okay, from H1. Okay, you know what? I will pick one more and I will do it for you. That's big. Link. For Link, I'm still waiting for this high from a short-term perspective, and for this high and 10 from a long-term perspective. I'm waiting for this break. If this happens, it would be fantastic. For Link, we'll be expecting further bullish movement. From a short-term perspective, we have this high here, but I don't really like how we have a resistance just like just up there. So we'll be expecting a short-term bullish movement if we take it upward. For now, we are bearish and we might still push lower before we push higher from here. Okay, XLM, the same logic as you see, this high here and this major high right there. We even have a clean double bottom formed around the 0.1. That's how strong the 0.1 round number is, especially for Link, which is what you guessed it right, a demand zone. Look at this movement. Look at this movement. An aggressive movement upwards from here. That's definitely a demand around 0.1 and so on. You got, as you can see, I've got too many alerts here for XLM because like I want to know every single movement that it makes. Okay. So that's basically it. So like that's it for today. Everyone, hope you enjoyed it. And sorry about this. If you have any questions, like let me know. Like I said, I answered a couple of questions. If you want to go over a specific one, also let me know. But to me, that's it for tonight. But I will wait for 1 minute in case some of you would like to ask anything. Okay.